welcome back to the fourth and or sixth episode of Winnie's Travels. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I reinstalled my windows after I removed all of them. Why did I remove all of them? Well, for two reasons. One, the windows were screwed into the walls and the old insulation, which meant that I had to remove them before I could remove the insulation underneath. And secondly, because it made it a lot easier to remove the window tint, which I did. So let me show you. So the only tools that you need for this, well, actually there's only one tool, and it's this. This is just like a paint scraper thing, like little, it's like a stiff one, or not even stiff, it's pretty flexible actually, but don't get the plastic ones, that's not gonna work. It has to have this like really thin edge, and all you do is just like, it's like a razor, and you just like, you could use a razor too, and you just scrape, and I'll show you guys what that looks like close up, but it's really, like this window is like 63 inches or something. So it takes a really long time, but I'll show you. I left the, there's two layers to the, to the tint, and one of the layers is peelable. So I'll show you also, how that looks when I peel it off. And it's like, that's really fun. And then there's this adhesive layer underneath that you have to pick at over the course of hours. So, don't get your hopes up. Removing the window tint was a huge pain, but I wanted Winnie to feel like a house and not a car. So I love the way the light looks now that it's all coming in through the windows, but it is important to keep in mind that I only did this because I live in Massachusetts, where it's pretty cold most of the year. And I'm not too worried about the RV overheating except in the summer. But if you lived in a warmer climate, it would not be a great idea to remove the window tint because it does really help keep the RV insulated. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it works, but it definitely looks great. Okay, shims, oh my god, the love of my life. Seriously, wood shims are probably the best invention of all time. I guess it's not really an invention, more of just a concept. The rough opening itself, the cutout, where the window goes is too big. It's like slightly bigger than the window itself, because that way you can just easily plop it in and pull it out. And like when the RV was constructed, that was definitely a good idea, just because the last thing you would want is the rough opening to be too small and the thing to not fit. So I just measured that and then cut a bunch of these little, I used a 2x4 that I already had, and I cut a bunch of little shims. And this one, actually just like, I was able to just push it in with my finger like that. But if that doesn't work, I've found what you can do is use a hammer and just like from the side kind of like lightly hammer it in. Ah! Oh my god, all my screws! No! Ah, my glove! Oh my god, there's too much stuff on the floor! My glove! So what I'm holding right here is a little strip of the foam insulation that I purchased from Craigslist from these really nice guys. They sold it to me for, it's the most expensive thing that I'll purchase the entire time other than the RV itself, because that was $2,000, and the insulation for the entire RV, plus wiggle room. You know, you always want to buy more than what you need because it gets cut up and, you know, you'll need extra, but that was $600. So that was a huge blow for me. I did not realize going into the project how much insulation was, and it definitely is unfortunate that I had to remove all of the old insulation to get new insulation, but it's going to be super, super worth it in the end. because it'll actually feel like a house. The insulation that used to be in the RV was like really poor R value. R value is how you measure how insulated something is, or like how good the actual insulation is. Like if it's an R value of 13, that's going to be way less than an R value of 30. And so this is not, this stuff, this rigid foam board is by far the cheapest option, especially if you get it the way I did, like from Craigslist. Basically, I bought 2-inch insulation, which is the thickest that would still not cause me to lose, I'm gonna lose half an inch of floor space overall, or like floor to ceiling space, but half an inch was like the most I was willing to lose. And 2-inch insulation is just way better than, anything less than that is obviously worse. So I went with the like most insulatory type that I could get, which was 2 inches. And so this is actually not 2 inches. However, this little piece and all the other pieces that I've cut, you can see it still has the felt faced edge on one end, but the other edge does not. And that's because it has been cut from 2 inches to 1 3/4 inches. So it will actually fit in the space, like really snugly. It will fit in between the fiberglass exterior and the window. I just pull the window back and then, whoa, and then just smush it in. Sometimes I give it a little push, and now that piece is totally hands-free, totally snug fit there. And this stuff breaks really easily. So that's great for adding piece by piece because you can't really add a big piece at once. It just doesn't really work. You have to kind of go piece by piece. But if you do that, you get this really great result that I'm super happy with. And I've been doing that. I've done it for all my other windows and I'm super happy with it. So yeah, that's what's up. All right, so I got this flexible paint scraper from my dad's tools. So it didn't cost me anything, but they only cost a few dollars for removing the window tint. Also glass cleaner to get the residue off at the end. This was only like, oh, this was $0 because I found it at the back of the kitchen sink left over from the previous tenants, but it's also just a few dollars if you need to get it. This stuff is the caulking that I used. I spent extra money because I had to buy caulking that can be applied in under freezing temperatures. So if you were smarter than I am and applying this when it isn't freezing in warmer weather, you would be able to save some money. But it definitely works really, really well. I love this kind of caulking. But it is really, 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 really hard to apply. So I actually ended up wasting some money on, you know, a few extra dollars on getting another caulking gun because I thought my first caulking gun, like I thought it was broken because this stuff is just so hard to squeeze out. So I actually recommend using a clamp and tightening the caulking gun with a clamp. This helps you, it helps if you have weak hands, it will stop you from having a lot of wrist pain, which is what I was dealing with. I used this part of a 2x4 to cut those wood shims that you saw. And I also bought this box of screws because I ran out of screws on the second to last window, I guess because I just kept dropping them. I don't know what happened, but I needed to buy some screws. So I got those as well. Lastly, this is kind of unrelated to the content of the video, but I got yet another pair of gloves. These ones actually have held up and I love them. I seriously, seriously recommend just buying a really nice pair of gloves the first time because this is now my third pair of gloves. So I've just wasted money buying other ones. So just be smart and don't make that choice. Yeah, so that's it.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel over here. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more of Winnie's Travels.